What is up, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by the man with the picks, Pez himself. What's up, Pez? How's it going?
Jeff, busy week for you as a golfer and Fairways
Yep.
and Dreams. Great podcast, and we're taping on Wednesday. I'm doing my due diligence for the Pez's Picks Nation, Jeff. Our part of our algorithm for golf. If you carry a baby in the par three, you got no shot, Jeff. You, you've got a full basketball team of children. I have one.
Yep.
These guys, they don't carry children like me and you do, or we used to.
Right.
and I'm watching these guys huffing these kids around. A very tiring day to play a par three course carrying a baby up and down these hills. So the algorithm, it's one for one, Jeff. We started it last year. We got a long list. I'll be taking a peek here and there just to watch. And exciting week, buddy. I should be wearing the green. What are we thinking here?
Well, I tell you what, for me, I looked at the weather on my phone the other day and it was calling for rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, this is the only week of the year that I'm like, that's fine. If it's
Fine.
raining outside, I got to stay inside. I can watch nothing but golf for the whole weekend. I'm all about it. So that's
Well,
A-okay
uh,
by me.
biting the bullet for my son a little bit, Jeff. He and two friends, I'll be picking up and taking them to the Minecraft movie. So Saturday evening, I'm gonna miss the end of that round. I'll have a phone on me. I'm not a Minecrafter. I don't even know if I'll be in the theater, so I'll try to keep up. But you got to do it for the children, right? You got to do
Yeah.
it. We got to.
Get the Masters app. It is fantastic. It is
I
a
was
fantastic app.
was on that
Totally
all day.
free. Totally
Yeah,
free.
it's
So, all right, we'll get to the golf talk towards the end of the podcast. We want to start off with a little recap of the Final Four. We went 1-1 with our picks as of the podcast last week. Auburn did not keep it within 2.5, and so therefore they did not win that one. But we did win Houston +5 over Duke. What a crazy finish to that game, and that was really the only excitement that I found from the entire tournament. What was your takeaway, Pez?
well. First, Jeff, regarding the Final Four, I, you know, I was very happy with our Houston play. I mean, about 80% of the action was on Duke, and we identified them just like Penn State football, Jeff. They're overrated. Not bad teams, but they get overrated in seeding and on gambling. And I thought Houston, everything worked like we thought they would. I still think Auburn was the best team in this tournament, and it showed on Saturday night. Broome ended up with a poor game. Their best player got second, probably the second best player in the country behind that kid in Duke. Got banged up on his elbow the week before, and it clearly hurt them. He shot 6 for 14 from the floor. So Florida and Houston, an impossibly tough championship. We for the first time went with a question on the Instagram and on the X, and X I think was Florida. Instagram was Houston. The game was too close to call. There was not enough data to pick either team. I think the game proved that both teams defended the three better than any two teams in that tournament. And Florida had a little bit too much for them at the end. With regards to the tournament, I think we finished with 4 upsets the entire tournament. Probably a record. I'm pretty sure it is. We'll have to check the charts a little bit, but I'm almost positive. Almost no upsets after Arkansas got knocked out. So I worry about this tournament with NIL money. You are not going to have these St. Bonaventures, these St. Peters. You're not going to have these crazy, UC San Diego teams making a run, and we had to adjust on the fly. We're really proud of that. We ended up about 59% of the tournament, but chalk is going to win. Chalk is going to win in football. It's going to win in basketball. The teams that used to make those Cinderella story runs, they'd have 1 or 2 guys that probably could play for Duke, Houston, Florida. Now those guys are taking money and they're going to sit the bench, right? It's become a job. It's not something you're committed to as a college student anymore. You're a paid athlete who might be going to class and maybe you won't be. They're transferring every year, and I was let down by this tournament. I'm let down by the whole thing. I keep talking about him. Nick Saban said about 6 months ago, college football pregame, they got to get a hold of this thing, right? And if we want college sports to have excitement and not be predictable and not be carried by chalk, Big Ten and SEC teams, something's got to happen. And this tournament, you have 4 number ones in the Final Four. It's only happened one other time. You had chalk, 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 the entire thing. Aside from maybe 1 or 2 little upsets. We didn't have any, and that was a sad situation for us.
Yeah, and so the it just seems like the whole tournament just kind of came and went without much fanfare. It just didn't seem like it had much gravitas, so to speak, and that sucks because, like you said, typically you have those Fordham beating the number one seed Virginia in a shocking fashion, and like I said, I thought the only truly exciting moment was when Houston had that final run to beat Duke. And Duke will say they got screwed by the over the back call. Okay, I could see that. But ultimately, I don't know. I think college sports in general just feel like it's not watered down, but just not as interesting and entertaining as it once was.
Well, I agree, and I agree. Duke whines, Jeff. I mean, they whine. When's the last time that team has won? I don't know, Jeff, but Houston shut them down, held them to 39% shooting from the field. Houston themselves didn't shoot too well, but at the end of the day, Duke had to play better, right? And Houston, a team that's investing money in basketball. I don't know if they even have a football team, Jeff. I don't hear about them. So I think what we could see in St. John's is another situation with Patino up there. Colleges that don't have big college programs in football are going to dedicate more money to basketball. A Houston, a St. John's, and I think the Dukes, the Floridas, and the Bamas, and these big time schools are going to have to keep up. I'm sure they're not going to be hurting for money, and at this point, there's no regulation, but something's got to get done. I mean, there was no buzzer beater, right? I don't think there was one. I don't think, like you said, there was too much excitement other than that game. The championship, kind of an exciting game, but very defensive teams, and I think we're going to see more of that too. When you have a stacked roster, you can figure out how to be a good defensive team, right? You're not going to sacrifice a guy that can hit threes for a guy that can defend. You're going to get a guy who can do both. And unfortunately, I don't know if we see a light at the end of the tunnel. I haven't heard any talk about making some sort of regulation, but I hope it comes. We need it.
Well, I think too, when you think about just the sport in general, I forget which roster it was. Maybe was it Auburn or Florida? The average age of the team was like 24 years old. It was insane. We are entering the final year of those COVID eligibility years. And so hopefully that brings everything back down a little bit, unless you have players that have injuries and they get another year of eligibility that way. So I feel like we're transitioning a little bit from one era to another, but with the NIL now, becoming more and more prominent, the transfer portal, like you said, Wild West, right?
The COVID transfer portal is insane. You got guys 26, 27 years old playing
Yeah.
college sports still. So if you're a startup team or a team that's, a minor team, you're not getting a 25-year-old guy. He's going to be taking money and going to a big time school. And there's a big difference between an 18, 19-year-old up against a 25-year-old man. So it became a career, and power to the players. I hope they get paid. I'm not saying they shouldn't make some money out of this deal, but I think we got to figure out how to reduce the transfer portal. We got to figure out how we can even the playing ground, because the SEC and Big Ten, they're always going to have more money. It's kind of like a salary cap league with no cap, and half of the teams, they don't have any salary either, right? So I don't know how they're going to compete. I think Indiana, they proved this year that team was a football. I don't even know if they had a football team until this year. Brought in a big-time coach who knew the NIL system, big money, got a lot of transfers from JMU. And, yeah, I think that's going to continue to happen only in Big Ten and SEC and big conference schools. Maybe out west we'll get some of those old Pac-10 teams too.
Two moves could make college sports back to what it used to be. First, foremost, you're allowed a certain number of transfers. You could say you can transfer one time in your college career and that's it, or twice. That's fine. And then the other one is you can max out how much you are going to be able to spend on a roster. You don't have to, you have a cap. You don't have to have a floor. People can spend as much as they want up until that point. I think it would level the playing field, but we don't want to spend too much time on college sports. Let's talk about the NBA. We got burned by a couple buzzer beaters most recently. What are your thoughts as we head into the postseason?
Brutal, Jeff. Brutal. I read an article. The NBA is maybe in its worst position it's ever been in. LeBron is taking over this league, and there are a lot of critics coming out about him flopping and calling for fouls, and then that spread to the whole league. It's a touch league now. It's a non-touch touch league, basically. Guys aren't playing. This is Wednesday, Tuesday night. We punched the numbers. The New York Knicks were a great team. They started the day. They were getting 2.5. Boston looked to be they were surrendering. Their position seems to be locked in for the playoffs. Cleveland locked it up last night. Everybody on the starting roster for Boston appeared to be out, and then they all played, Jeff. So, we put our pick out early. Knicks were laying 1. They were trying to prevent being swept by Boston Celtics. The Knicks still have a little bit something to play for. It turns out they all played, Jeff. The line swung. It went to Knicks, getting 2. I hope people kind of kept up on that. And, we're not making excuses, but, gambling's a living thing. So you got to keep up to do your due diligence up till tip-off. 2 buzzer beaters, Jeff. A buzzer beater to end the game and push us to overtime. Then we have a buzzer beater. We lose in overtime. So if you got it at 2, it was a push. But that game, it reminded me of the entire NBA season. We're hoping the playoffs, things start to settle down. You get a little bit more certainty. You know what the roster is going to be. You know what you're going to get out of some of these guys. But a rough year, and the NBA, disappointing, Jeff. Beyond disappointing. I hope the playoffs kind of change our mind. Last year they did. Got back to physical play, defense, and flopping. It's got to go. Soccer got rid of this, Jeff. In the Premier League, if you flop, you get carded, you get booed. It's not a manly thing to do. And somebody sent me a reel. Maybe it's time for LeBron to pass the league on. Maybe this state of basketball, we're going to put it on him. And a lot of comparisons between Michael Jordan and LeBron. Michael Jordan never flopped. That guy dunked on the last game of the season when his team was, going for 75 wins. That guy played his ass off. Everybody did. And I think we got to get back to the NBA being a competitive league. These guys are rich, right? 2-3 guys on every team are making $50 million a year. It doesn't seem like they're fighting for their life anymore. And that's something the NFL still does. Not, NFL, you're fighting for your job. It doesn't appear that's the case in the NBA. And we'll dial it in more in the playoffs. The playoffs should pick it up a level, and I hope they do.
All right. Now, we haven't done much with baseball yet. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. I know last season we rode, skoo ball and Skeens. Skeens lost to the Cardinals yesterday as of this being recorded on Wednesday. And so I'm curious what your approach is going to be this year. Is it going to be all about, again, finding those ace stud pitchers, or are you looking more with the torpedo bats, which aren't going anywhere?
Jeff, a nightmare for gambling, these torpedo bats. We're going to have to really do some research and try to figure these things out. Everybody's got one on order, and if the whole league takes them, that's going to change things a little bit. I mean, you're still going to hit the ball, right? And do you get more velocity off of the bat? Probably. So it's something we're going to have to really research and get in. We're proud. We were going to take Skeens yesterday, Jeff. We looked at it. 2 things we don't like betting in baseball at Pez's Picks: early season and cold weather games. Cold weather games, unpredictable. It's going to happen in baseball. I played a little bit, the sting of the bat. Sometimes it's hard for the pitcher to grip the ball and kind of get that movement on the ball. I'm not sure what happened with Skeens yesterday. I didn't end up watching the game, but early season baseball, especially when it's a cold spell, which the East Coast is getting hit with again, I think it's better to sit out, do your homework, kind of let some guys get some innings under their belt, and let baseball is this all-consuming sport for these guys. So. Oh God, Jeff, I hate to interrupt, but Kepka's carrying a baby. Oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? You can't carry a baby, Jeff. Oh,
You're screwed. Anyway. You're screwed.
Put the baby down. That baby can walk. Let the baby walk. Anyway, I love babies, Jeff. I'm not knocking them, but they're very tiring. It's like carrying a dead person. So we of course, pitching will be 100% what our system is going to be based on. Just like the quarterback in football, but you got to judge against who you're going up against as well, right? The Seattle Mariners appear to be off to being the worst hitting team in the history of hitting again. So teams like that, we're going to look to kind of gang up on and ride these pitchers. And, another week, I think the weather's going to break again. It's still snowing up in New England, Jeff. We'll be skiing again next week. We'll be doing a lot of spots from those mountains. That's when we really get dialed in.
Well, I'll tell you this, the Pirates, when Skeens pitched, it was a night game. By 8 o'clock, the game started at 6:40, 8 p.m. in Pittsburgh, it was 32 degrees. And that temperature could go down to 30 by the time the game concluded. So I can't see that being conducive to anything positive at any position, mind you. There's guys in the outfield wearing ski masks to keep their face warm. They have their hands. It's nuts. In my opinion, just reschedule the game. Like it's not baseball. Just reschedule
Well,
the game.
and wind's a big part of that as well. And
Yep.
it's been real windy here in Jersey, down by, Cape May Beach area. They've been canceling games because of so much wind. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. But I think the problem with the pitchers and the hand gets cold, the fingertips, you're not getting that grip and that feel. Velocity is going to be there, and a lot goes into that. You'd think with Livy Dunn, Jeff, this Skeens guy, he'd never be cold, right? I mean, come on. I mean, with this guy, he should be walking on water. Maybe a little sophomore jinx. I hope not for that Skeens. I mean, generally second year in all sports, stars tend to take a little bit of a drop. I hope that's not the case. I love that guy. I think he's the future of baseball, and we'll be looking at Scooball and looking at these stupid torpedo bats. We're gonna have a lot more time going forward after this Masters. We got nothing but time, right? What else do we?
Well, let's get into it. We were going to have a lot to talk about the Masters at Augusta National Golf Club. Unfortunately, depending on when they listen to the podcast, it might be too late to get pre-round bets in. I think most sports books are going to want them in really early Thursday morning or Wednesday night. So let's just talk about the fact that you are also a fan of post-cut gambling, which keep your eyes out for Pez's picks on social media. And after the cut's been made, those odds adjust. You might get some good odds on someone like even Scotty Scheffler. But Pez, what are you thinking about the Masters heading into this first major of 2025?
So I honestly think, Jeff, that the lines that we're seeing on some of these guys are completely off. And I feel like this tournament, I'm seeing more value plays from golf than I've ever seen. And I don't know why. And what we're finding, a lot of these are live guys. So maybe lack of seeing them, maybe lack of, being in big major tournaments. We put out on Instagram already, we have 3 value plays that we love. First up until I just saw him holding the baby, but we're still going to take him, Jeff. Brooks Koepka, plus 3,000. Brooks Koepka, who I would argue probably has the best resume of anybody playing in this tournament, aside from the old legend guys. The guys that can actually win, under 50 years of age, probably has the best resume, right? I mean, he's got 6 majors, I believe. The guy has 7 cuts made, 9 tournaments. He's got a 7.1.81 round average. Anybody under 72 average at Augusta is fantastic. He's 34 years of age, probably that right age you want to be. And a guy that seems to be in this tournament every year. I think last year he had a bad one. I would not be shocked if Koepka won this, plus 3,000. I love that all day. Now, to explain McIlroy, Scheffler, we know they're playing great right now. The odds that they're getting, I don't think the value is there as much as when you can put $10 to win 300 on Koepka. Our second guy that I just don't understand it right now. DeChambeau coming in at plus 2,000. I don't understand. I mean, I know he's been bad at the Masters. He looked good last year. He's got a 72.75 scoring average. So that's not too bad. And last year, he looked like he figured it out a little bit. He played great. A guy that could win every major, right? And if conditions look like they're going to be pretty easy, Koepka's got the kid on his shoulders now, Jeff. I don't know. We might have to exit this out. What the hell is going on here?
I'm not editing this at all. You're stuck with it.
We're going with the Shambo. No kids, Jeff. I don't even think that guy's married. I don't know what the hell he did. So I think he's got as good a shot as anybody. You got to put Koepka and Shambo in top 5 most likely to win this tournament, in my opinion. Shambo and Koepka probably the 2 best major golfers in the tournament. Of course, Scheffler, you want to throw him in there. And I like Shambo and Koepka more than I like Rory, to be quite honest with you. No pressure on these guys, right? They've already cashed in. Shambo's proven a live guy can win a major. And I think Koepka's coming into this year knowing he's probably coming back to the PGA and it appears to be a little happier. That guy has no emotion, so who knows? But I love those 2 guys this week. And I got another one, Jeff. I'll let you give me a couple years. I got my value pick of the week after yours.
Well, before we get to your value pick of the week, I wanted to say, I was going to bring it up on the show. I read an article recently about golf lines and golf odds going to algorithm based. Now you talk about your algorithm. That's kind of what you do on your own to figure out where you want to go with plays. This is, I think, the fact that they're using computer modeling because there's so many golfers and there's so many unknown factors. And I think that's why when you look at the live golfers, they have crazy good odds, and they are still really good players. Even John Rahm, who fell off the face of the earth when he went to live, has kind of refound his form, and he's at 1,300. Some books have him upwards of 1,600 odds. Like you said, Bryson DeChambeau plus 2,000. That's insane. The guy won the U.S. Open last year at Pinehurst, #2. It was really fat. It was a fascinating read, kind of based on the fact that it seemed like the sports books don't know how to handicap these live guys because they're not seeing him every week, and they don't know how to legitimize Joaquin Niemann winning all these live tournaments when they're not playing 4 days. They're only playing 54 holes. They're not playing more often. It seems like the books are kind of like, we aren't sure what to do. But let me ask you this, though. Don't you think they would trend in the other direction? Then they wouldn't give such good odds if they're trying to protect themselves?
So you bring up great points, Jeff, and that's how we're looking at this same thing too. I think, being in the biz before it was a qualified state
Right.
operator or approved biz, I would never have given somebody plus 3,000 on Brooks Koepka in this tournament. I don't know
Right.
a bookie in the world that would have done that. I mean, that is insanity. Two things I think. The algorithm is based on what golf is using to judge the best players. These guys aren't getting the points in their tournaments, so their world golf rankings dropping. That's got to be in their system, right? Secondly, I don't think they care. When I just looked at an article, and currently in a Vegas casino, sportsbook's only about 20% of their profits. They're trying to encourage people to bet more. They want that number to get higher and higher. 50% is still slot game. So I think they're encouraging gambling. I don't think they're looking at it like a regular bookie. They're hoping that people put action on, and you're what is it, 90 guys in this tournament, 1 out of 90 or 1 out of 80. I think they're saying go ahead and give it a shot. And I don't think there's a lot of action on golf. I think it's kind of a chink in the armor right now in these lines, and I think you can get on top of this. You've been proving that you can get on these top 20 bets and top 10 bets.
Yep.
We look for the big win at Pez's Picks with golf, kind of like a horse betting system. But I agree 100%. I don't think they know what they're doing. In the old days, it'd be a group of Italian guys in South Philly eating some scagili and some pasta and meatballs, and somebody call in and say, "Can I get plus 3,000 on Koepka?" They would have cursed him out and hung up and cut that guy off, Jeff. Shambo plus 2,000. I got the value play. I still can't believe it. I put action in on it, Jeff. Me and my man, the Sling Man, today, we looked at it a couple of times. Patrick Reed plus 9,000. Jeff plus 9,000. You would never get a guy who's, what's he now, 35 years old, something like that, a former winner. And we both know winners are the ones that you got to win this tournament. Well, people that win tend to win twice. I mean, that's a kind of popular thing. They know the course. 9 cuts out of 11 tournaments. 71.93 scoring average. This guy's one of the best living Masters players. He's 3 top 10s in his last 3 outings around the world. That guy's playing around the world. He's begging to get points. I think he was on the DP Tour, the European Tour. So I love Reed at plus 9,000. I can't believe it. I don't even think he has children on Instagram. I think I said he eats children. He might, Jeff. He is the #1 nemesis in golf history. The guy's a proven cheater.
Yeah, he's a freaking cheater.
He robbed his teammates' locker room in college. I love this guy, Jeff. This is what we need in golf. We need an animal like this back out there. He doesn't give a damn about anybody. He's not playing in this par 3. He's got kind of a little bit of tiger in him. He wants to kick everybody's ass out there physically and on the golf course. Plus 9,000. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I really don't.
All right. So here, I'll give you some of my plays. I think plus 400 for Scotty Scheffler. It's not great odds, but I think you'd be foolish not to put some money on him because plus 400 odds is still plus 400 odds. But if I were to give you my bona fide favorite, it is actually Colin Morikawa at plus 1,800. It's really good odds, and he's a really good player, and he's played really well this season as well. He finished second in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. My long shot is actually the guy that beat him in the Arnold Palmer Invitational, Russell Henley. He's played well in the Masters before. He's got experience. He's been playing well this year. He's plus 5,500. I like him as my long shot. So you go into these top 5, top 10, top 20. I just want to talk top 20 with you for a sec. How about Phil Mickelson plus 280 to be top 20? Now, I think that Phil, he's been playing good golf. If you follow Liv and the results, he's been playing well. And I also love Keegan Bradley plus 220 to finish in the top 20. Keegan Bradley, who had an ace in the par 3, not that that matters, but he's playing good golf as well. He's trying to maybe say, hey, I want to be on the Ryder Cup team, not just captain the team. And the only way he's going to do it is to play his way on. I think Keegan Bradley's got something to prove. I like him 220, top 20.
So, both guys passed the test first, Jeff. Both guys did not carry a baby today. Keegan's kids can walk. They're older. It's a tough Vermont guy. Phil and Keegan, kind of similar games. Big dudes.
Yep.
Hit great irons. When their putter's rolling, they're going to be in the tournament. I love Phil at plus top 20. I like Sergio Garcia, Jeff. I think a top 10 on Sergio Garcia might not be a bad play. He is hot. I'm watching him in this tournament, in this par 3. Irons look amazing. Scheffler's irons, of course, looked amazing today, even though he's carrying the baby. I think this tournament, we're going to have good weather. It appears, maybe a little bit of rain Thursday night, very low wind. You are going to have to be dialed in. You're going to have to know where to put that ball. You're not going to get a weather advantage very much this week. So I think veterans have the advantage. I was watching Min-Woo Lee. He chucked 2 or 3 balls in the water. I'd say no chance on Min-Woo Lee. Joaquin Niemann, no chance on these guys. Too young. They're going to go out there. You got to put the ball in the fairway so you can put the ball on the green and not walk away with 3 or 4 putts. I read an article, 5 reporters who got to play over the last 10 years, and they do a media lottery on Monday after the tournament. If you get picked, you get to go out there with a caddy. All of them said handicaps 2 to 20. That the course, it doesn't play too hard. You can drive the ball a lot of different places. The greens are unbelievably tiny, and if you don't know where to put the ball on the green, you're going to 4-putt. So a guy like Phil, I think, has a legitimate chance to not just make the cut, maybe be up on that leaderboard on Sunday. We saw him put up some good rounds over the last few years. And same thing, I think these live guys, I hate to say it, they're coming in a little bit better position mentally than the PGA guys. I can run down the PGA guys, Jeff. Scheffler, Burns, Spieth, Day, Homa, Straka, Spawn, Young, and Thomas, all out there with their families and their kids today, yucking it up, Jeff. And to me, I'm a Tiger Woods guy. You don't yuck it up before potentially the biggest tournament of your life, right? You got to be dialed in. I saw Young chasing his kid out of a bunker with a rake. I mean, he had twins out there, Jeff. You can't have twins. You can't have twins on the golf course preparing for the Augusta. I'm tired of this, Jeff.
Hey, Morikawa doesn't have kids. And you know who else? And it is something else. I have him as a top 5 pick. I couldn't believe he was plus 330. This guy won 2 majors last year. No one's talking about Xander Schauffele. The guy's a freaking major machine. And he was injured this season, and he's getting back to form. Plus 330, top 5. I love that's probably my confidence play of the tournament is Xander Schauffele, top 5. He's also plus 1,800 to win outright, and he doesn't have kids. So
no kids. That's important. You can have kids, but you can't be carrying them in this par 3. I watch these guys. My back hurts, and professional golfers. You develop as a dad. You carry the kids so you don't throw your back out. Right? You figure it out over painful weeks. These guys, they're gone 8 months a year. They don't know how to carry these kids. I'm watching them out there. The JMU 6-string punter brought up some good points, Chef. Morikawa, one of his majors was won during COVID with nobody there. Maybe pressure gets on this guy a little bit.
Maybe.
He also noted, he had an article he sent me, there's an analytics-based system that has Morikawa as the winner, which kind of makes sense. Great iron player, drives the ball straight. Can he roll those putts in under pressure? Another guy no one's talking about, Oberg Aberg. He last year, was a couple shots away from winning that tournament. Has a win, this season. The last couple of weeks have been a little rough, but I like his chances too. This field, whose chances don't you like? I'm calling it right now, Jeff. Freddie Couples makes the cut. I'm feeling good.
I'd love it. I would love it because he would break his own record of the oldest guy to make the cut at the Masters. He owns that record. Now, if you dive deep into the sports books for these majors, like they have a bet, at least on DraftKings, I saw they did. You can bet on which live player will finish in front of the other live players. Bryson DeChambeau plus 360. I'll take that. I'll take him over all the other live guys.
So he's got to beat just the live guys in the field.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where he finishes as long as he's ahead of all the other live players.
I think a good bet would be, the live guys versus PGA guys. If you can match up 5 and 5, as great as Scheffler and Rory are playing right now, it kind of feels like the live guys are coming into this with a little bit more gusto, right, and a little bit more experience on this course, and they have more majors to their name in the last recent history. Scheffler, you know, easily could go out there and smoke this tournament. I mean, that guy the last couple weeks, he looks dialed in. The putter looks better than it ever has. So, it's probably Scheffler's tournament to lose. I'm not going to say Rory until Rory can. What's a bit, a decade? It's a decade drought. So I think it's Scheffler's tournament to lose, and I think if it's not Scheffler, it's going to be a live guy.
All right. So last thing before we go, I want to run down these pairings for day 1 and day 2 and see which one you like the best. We have Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, and Jose Luis Ballester. He's an amateur. That's one pairing. Next, Rory, Ludwig, and Akshay. Okay, that's another one. Scotty tees off around 10 o'clock. Rory's got the afternoon and then the morning, so he tees off at 1:12. Also, Hideki Matsuyama, Bryson DeChambeau, and Shane Lowry. Goodness, that sounds awful.
Wow.
We got one more. Adam Scott, Xander Schauffele, Victor Hovland, also Jordan Spieth, Tom Kim, Tyrell Hatton, John Rahm, Wyndham Clark, and Tommy Fleetwood, Brooks Koepka, your boy, Russell Henley, my guy, and Soon J.M., who's dead to me. Any of those ring a bell? Any of those you definitely are going to watch?
Well, I think that grouping helps Koepka a ton. That's a non-pressure grouping, right? I think when you throw in some of the big names, I think whoever's playing with Scheffler, Justin Thomas, he's had some good rounds. Those two could kind of neutralize each other a little bit. I think you're going to have to be below par. Without wind, without rain, I think you're going to have to. We could be looking at a 15 under win maybe, right? I mean, this is going to be a tough week to keep this course from being beatable. I say that every year, and of course, I figure out a way to do it there. But I think some of these groupings are going to help some guys and hurt some guys, especially when we talk about pace of play. Tom Kim, pretty slow guy. Siwoo Kim, very slow player. So, I think depending on starting time and depending on how you're I think Rory, guy's got to get off to a good start. I mean, if his first rounds in this tournament have been god awful, I mean, he's been terrible. We'll know if Rory's game is in it by tomorrow evening, Thursday night.
Well, he'll complain about the elbow and say that's why, because that's the type of guy he is. He's a coward. But anyways, I'm not going to get into Rory. But I will say they'll let this course dry out. If it gets windy, they're going to let it get real dry. It's going to be real firm, and it's going to be really tough to hold these greens. And so that's where the short game players are going to really come into play. That's why Scotty's as good as he is, because he's great around the greens, great to get up and down. So, all right, Pez, final thoughts, man, before we call it a show.
Yeah, I'm feeling it, Jeff. I'm feeling a Koepka or a Patrick Reed win or a journeyman, a Mickelson or a Garcia. I hate to live, Jeff, but I'm feeling a live win in this tournament. I'm just feeling it.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Enjoy the tournament. Enjoy that Minecraft movie. And we'll talk next week, man. Take it easy.
Later.